Hello there, friends. Well, thank you for joining me here for the Wednesday Mailbag. So today we're going to be featuring two commenter questions. It's going to be from Andrewstemple 8793, who wants to talk about how I should format my videos. Hey Andrew. The other is from Dave Ecclectic. Hey Dave. So what we do here on Wednesdays now is we feature your comments. And some of these comments are very helpful. So if you didn't even watch the video, guess what? You get a quick snippet of the valuable information from that video. So here we go. About, is it a French theme or not a French theme? And that is always the huge controversy on this channel. If you've ever seen some of these videos that talk about French theme or not a French theme. So Andrewstemple 8793 writes, a few suggestions to help viewers understand the processes being taught. If possible, start the instruction video by showing the original and the finished product side by side, or on split screen to give the viewer an understanding of what you will be working toward. Also, before starting the work, spend a few minutes going over the finished product to explain the steps you will be taking to achieve that finished product, which parts in what order, and how they will be joined to complete the work. This gives the viewer an overview of the process before you start. Of course, you will record these segments out of order to show the finished product first. This will help the viewer understand where you are going with each step of the work by seeing the finished product first and hearing how you will achieve it. And this was my answer back to Andrew. I told him, I said, "Hello, Director Andrew. Awesome suggestions. If I gave it all away in the first few minutes, nobody would ever watch to the end." Many times at the end of my seat videos, I do put two seats side by side to show the before and after. I have 200 more videos, many are which show this. Many are similar, but they are all different. I could do all you mentioned, or the viewer just needs to watch all the way through to the end to see the whole process from beginning to end. Disassembly and reassembly. I never leave anything out. You know, some of my videos are already 1.5 or 2 hours long. Even longer than that, nobody would watch all the way. Just saying, please keep liking and watching. So, you know, that is a thing, really. You know, I actually tried this when I first started making videos. And because I saw it done in other places, so I thought, well, maybe I would try that too. So I did. And you know what? Everybody would click off after the first 3 minutes because they didn't stick around to the end to see the process. They just watched until, you know, I don't know what's going on with that. But anyway, if you don't watch the video all the way through, you're missing out on the process. You know, you clicked on this video because you want to learn something, right? But you know, like 23% of my viewers are clicking off in the first 30 seconds. You know, so why do you even bother to click on my video just to click off? You know, because it's very clear on the thumbnail what the video is about. So that's the other thing, Andrew, is if you really wanted to see the finished product, sometimes in my thumbnail, I will have the finished product in the thumbnail. So you're going to see that before you ever even click on the video. So that kind of should satisfy that part, wouldn't it? But really, your homework is to comment and tell me what you learned about the video. So go over there and comment.
If you find value in my upholstery tutorials,
Now is an easier way to contribute to my YouTube channel. Buy a coffee by scanning this QR code now. Thank you. So join me next Sunday afternoon for the best instructional upholstery videos on YouTube. And now for the continued controversy that seems to plague my channel. So this one here is from Dave Eclectic, okay, where he says there is no French stitch, and that is not a French seam, a top stitched open seam in parentheses here. A French seam is when you roll the seam and stitch it, producing a very strong seam. This one is only as strong as the single line holding it together. So I wrote back to him. I said, "Hello, Dave. Thanks for the clarification. Here goes the great debate again. Is that not a flat felled seam?" Is what I was asking, is what he was describing. Often used for clothing. In the automotive industry, a French seam is as I have shown it here. 50 years ago, when I would order a French seam vinyl top, it would look like mine. This is a description from topsonline.com website. Landau top details. Made with 2 French seams on the deck, 1 seam along each side. Seam around the rear window. Most automotive manufacturers use an automotive French seam on their seats and upholstery and have for a very long time. Just Google automotive French seam. You will see. Most automotive manufacturers do not use a backing tape on their French seams. Only the single stitch with the double top stitch. This is pretty much standard. I have a video about this right here. Really, the trick is the first seam. I should have said the stitch. Then your tension should be set correctly, and it will be very strong, stronger than the vinyl itself. By the way, this is why I stopped calling it a French seam. Now I call it a Texas seam. No one can argue now. Please keep liking and watching. Well, I pretty much know what he's talking about. It's like when you get a seam like this and you roll it over and then you do the material like this, and then you roll it over and do the top stitch. Okay, everywhere I've seen on the internet, it's called a flat felled seam. Okay, so the one that I'm describing is when you sew the 2 pieces together and then do a double top stitch on each side of that seam, that stitch, the first stitch. And that's what I'm talking about. In the automotive industry, for the 50 years that I've been around it, everybody has always called that a French seam. So he must be talking about the kind of seam that is like, say, in a boat sail or like blue jeans or something like that. And maybe that's his background and that's where he came from. Maybe that's why there's such a controversy, because different people, depending on their background, they have a different interpretation of what is and what is not a French seam. So I know that there's a lot of YouTube videos out there and people that watch the videos, and then that's what they get into their head. So when they see a description of something on YouTube, it's got to be correct, right? But I'm telling you, in the automotive industry, this is what me and everybody else I have ever known, including my suppliers and designers, they've always called what we're doing here as a French seam is the single seam with a double top stitch on top of that. And it's the visible stitch that you see is why they call it a French seam, because it looks really nice. Even in my comments, a lot of people, they were saying, well, it's not a French seam if you don't have the tape backing. I'll go ahead and put that link below of what I thought about that. And I'll even put the link to the video that shows The French seam that I'm talking about that has the backing, and the backing just falls apart. So there's no strength in the backing. People say, well, you have to put the backing so that way you have the strength of the seam. But like I explained here in this comment, it's all about that first stitch. You got to have your tension on your machine correct so that way when you sew that first seam, it's nice and tight. You know, you can hold it up and you don't want to see a whole bunch of daylight going through those stitches. That's how you know that your thread tension is correct. So, you know, some of you are saying, well, what do I know about thread tension? Really, all you do is you just got to pull on the top thread and the bottom thread. You pull on them at the same time like this, and you could feel the tension. Okay, so what you do is you feel the tension. If the top thread feels tighter than the bottom thread, either going to have to loosen up the top thread or tighten up the bottom thread. So you're going to be doing either or both until you get a nice tight stitch. And on your top, if you're looking at the top stitch, you don't see any bobbin coming through. So both questions are really good questions. And these are questions that you should be also thinking about. So if you're thinking about it, put it in comments. And tell me your definition of a French stitch. And keep that conversation going, right? So get all your comments in, because who knows, maybe your comment will be featured. So I hope you enjoy my new Wednesday segment. So until next time. If you like this video, you'll really like the next one.